I found out by accident when I got back from my business trip. Stepping out of the taxi, exhaustion weighed on me, but relief softened its edges. The crisp evening air felt refreshing after hours of travel, and for a brief moment, I allowed myself to breathe. Then I saw it. My usual parking spot, gone. No, not gone, taken. A battered sedan, missing a hubcap and rust creeping along its side, sat where my car should have been. My stomach dropped. My breath caught. My body tensed as I stared at the space where my car used to be. Maybe I had parked somewhere else before leaving? No, I never did that. Slowly, I reached into my coat pocket, fingers wrapping around my car keys. The cold metal pressed against my palm, familiar. Grounding. My keys. My car. My rules. At least, that's how it was supposed to be. A sharp chill crawled up my spine. My grip tightened until the edges of the keys dug into my skin. My pulse pounded in my ears as I turned and walked inside. I still remembered the day I bought that car, the endless nights spent budgeting, cutting down every unnecessary expense just to afford the down payment, the extra shifts, the late hours, the vacations I turned down. Signing those papers at the dealership had been one of the proudest moments of my life. It wasn't just a car. It was proof that I could take care of myself, that I didn't need anyone. And now, it was gone. I found my parents in the dining room, their expressions wary, as if they had been bracing for this moment. "Mom, where's my car?" My voice was sharp, laced with an edge of panic I couldn't quite suppress. Dad cleared his throat. "Sweetheart, we had to sell it." Cold spread through my chest. "You what?" "Your brother needed help," Mom added quickly, her voice almost apologetic, almost. "You know how much he's been struggling." A slow, burning anger coiled inside me. Of course, my brother, the family's golden child, the same brother who had dropped out of college, quit every job he'd had, and always found himself in a crisis of his own making. And once again, I was the one expected to pay for it. I tightened my grip on the keys, feeling the ridges press into my palm. My fingers twitched with the urge to throw them across the room. Instead, I let out a hollow laugh. "You sold my car? The car I bought with my own money, without even asking me?" Dad sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. "You have a great job, sweetheart. You can buy another one, but your brother. You weren't even using it while you were away." Mom cut in, shifting uncomfortably under my glare. I stared at her, jaw tightening. "Excuse me?" "It was just sitting there," she continued, her voice turning defensive. "And your brother, he's been going through a lot. We thought you'd understand." Fury surged through me, stiffening my spine, curling my hands into fists. I inhaled slowly, forcing control into my voice. "Where's the money?" Mom hesitated. "Well, we already gave it to him." Of course, they had. I could already picture exactly where it went, wasted on another impulsive scheme or some luxury he absolutely needed for work. My brother never changed because he never had to. There was always someone there to clean up his mess. I exhaled, looking down at the keys in my hand. Just moments ago, they had meant something, a symbol of my independence, my hard work. Now, they were just useless metal. I let them slip from my fingers, the sound of them hitting the floor echoing in the silent room. They thought they had taken something from me, that I'd just sigh, swallow my anger, and move on like always. They had no idea. That night, sleep never came. Betrayal, disappointment, and anger churned inside me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's dismissive look, my father's tired sigh, how easily they justified stealing from me, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. They expected me to accept it. They had no idea who they were dealing with. By sunrise, my plan had already taken shape. I stretched, cracked my knuckles, and sat down at my desk. My laptop hummed to life as I opened a fresh document. Step 1. Find out who bought my car. If it was sold to a dealership, there was a chance I could buy it back if it was sold privately. First, I needed to track down the buyer. If the money had already been wasted on my brother's nonsense, I had to make sure my parents never touched another dime of my earnings again. Step 2. Secure my finances, change every banking password, remove my parents from any shared accounts, and ensure they had zero access to my savings. Step 3. Confront my brother. He was the real culprit. If he thought he could take from me without consequences, He was about to get a rude awakening. I exhaled slowly, staring at the list on my screen. This wasn't just about a stolen car. This was about control, about making sure they understood I wasn't their personal ATM, their backup plan, their silent provider. They had stolen from me. Now, I was going to take something from them. By mid-morning, I was sitting in the quiet corner of my favorite coffee shop, an espresso in one hand, my phone in the other. First call, the DMV. "I'm sorry," the clerk said, her voice polite but firm, "but I can't release that information to anyone except the registered owner." Fine. Expected. I had another way. I logged into my old insurance portal. There it was, the cancellation notice. My car had been removed from my policy just 2 days ago. A new name was listed under the transfer, Harrison Auto Sales. Perfect. The dealership was a 20-minute drive. Borrowing a car from one of the few people I actually trusted. I pulled into the lot. It was nothing special, rows of mid-range sedans, a few overpriced sports cars, and a glass-walled office in the center. Inside, a salesman in his late 40s stood behind the counter, looking exactly as tired as I felt. His name tag read Mike. "Morning," he greeted, giving me a professional but uninterested nod. "Looking for something specific?" "Yes," I said, pulling up a photo on my phone. "A black 2020 Toyota Camry. I believe you bought it recently." Mike frowned, scratched his chin. "Camry, huh? Let me check." He tapped at his computer before nodding. "Yeah, came in 2 days ago. Sold already." My stomach clenched. "Sold?" "Yep, guy came in yesterday. Paid cash." "Who?" Mike hesitated. "Sorry, we don't give out customer information." I forced a breath through my nose, keeping my voice calm. "Listen, that car was sold without my permission. I just need to know who bought it. I'm not here to cause trouble, I just need to talk to them." Mike hesitated, glancing toward the break room. Then, he sighed. "Look, I can't tell you who bought it, but if I happen to leave this invoice on the counter while I grab a coffee." He didn't finish the sentence, just turned and walked off, leaving his computer unlocked. I didn't waste time. Leaning over, I scanned the most recent sale entry. Buyer, Andrew Collins. Address, 742 Riverside Drive. Gotcha. Riverside Drive was a quiet suburban street, not the kind of place where people typically buy used cars in cash. That meant one of two things: Andrew Collins either needed a cheap ride fast, or he was flipping it for profit. Either way, I needed to talk to him. I parked a few houses away and walked up his driveway, and there it was, my car, parked neatly under a tree, exactly as I remembered it. My fists clenched involuntarily. I rang the doorbell. A moment later, a man in his early 30s answered. Scruffy beard, tired eyes. He sized me up. Wary. "Yeah." I kept my expression neutral. "Andrew Collins?" "Who's asking?" "My name is Anna. That car in your driveway, it was sold without my consent. I'm here to buy it back." Andrew sighed, rubbing his face. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I paid good money for that car. I understand. I'm not accusing you. I just need to know, how much did you pay for it?" He hesitated, then shrugged. $7,000, cash." $7,000. They sold my car, my hard-earned car, for a fraction of its worth. My jaw tightened. "Did they tell you why they were selling it?" "Guy said his kid was in trouble, needed money fast." I don't usually ask questions when someone's desperate to sell. Typical. My parents had undersold my car to bail out my brother, again, and they hadn't even bothered getting a fair price. I took a slow breath, recalibrating. I could demand the car back, but that wouldn't get me anywhere. Andrew wasn't the enemy here. He was just an opportunity. "Listen," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. "I'll make you a deal. You paid 7, right?" "Yeah." "I'll give you 10. Andrew raised an eyebrow. 10, cash? Cash. He leaned back, considering. 15. I scoffed. "You serious?" "Hey, I got a good deal." "Sure, but I also paid for new registration, insurance, oil change, not to mention." I tuned him out. I wasn't about to let some guy flip my car for profit. This wasn't over. I already liked the car. Andrew leaned back, folding his arms. 15. I wanted to punch a wall. Paying double for my own car just to fix my parents' mess? Unbelievable. But I wasn't about to walk away empty-handed. Fine, I said through gritted teeth. 15. I left Andrew's place with my car and a burning determination. This wasn't just about getting back what was mine. It was about making sure they never did this to me again. As I drove back toward my parents' house, my mind raced through options. I had plenty of them, and this time, I wasn't going to be the forgiving one. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Mom, sweetheart, we know you were upset last night. Come home for dinner. Let's talk. I stared at the message, my grip tightening on the wheel. Talk? They hadn't even apologized. They just expected me to get over it, like I always did, like I always had. Not this time. I typed a response. Me, sure. See you tonight. When I pulled into the driveway, my usual parking spot was empty. No sign of the old sedan. I smirked. They must have thought I wasn't coming back for my car, that I'd let it go. Fools. I walked inside to find my parents and my brother already seated at the dining table. The smell of roasted chicken and garlic mashed potatoes filled the air. Mom's classic let's make peace meal. Sweetheart, Mom greeted, standing up to hug me as if nothing had happened. I'm so glad you came. I didn't return the hug. Instead, I pulled out my phone and set it on the table, screen facing up. Dad frowned. What's this? I tapped the screen. A voice recording started playing. Voice recording. Yeah, came in 2 days ago. Sold already. Mike, sold. Voice recording, yep. Guy came in yesterday. Paid cash. Mike, who? Voice recording, sorry, we don't give out customer information. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's face went pale. I went to the dealership. I said, my voice calm but cold. Tracked down the buyer. Paid 15 grand to get my car back. My car, which you sold without my permission. A heavy silence filled the room. You did what? My brother finally blurted, his fork clattering onto his plate. I got my car back. I repeated, and now we're going to talk about how you're going to pay me back. Every single cent. Dad shook his head. Sweetheart, that's not how family works. Sometimes we make sacrifices for each other. I slammed my hand down on the table. Sacrifices? I snapped. I make sacrifices every time. It's me. When has he? I pointed at my brother, who shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Ever sacrificed a single thing for me? Mom opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. You know what? I continued. Forget the money. I don't even care about it anymore. What I care about is this. You will never get a single dollar from me again. Dad's eyes narrowed. Don't be ridiculous. I smiled. Teeth clenched. Already moved my accounts. Frozen the shared one you had access to. Changed my direct deposit. From now on, you're on your own. Mom's hand flew to her mouth in shock. But we're family. I leaned forward, meeting her gaze. Family doesn't steal from each other. For the first time in my life, I watched as they panicked. Dad looked like he wanted to explode, but he had nothing to say. Mom's eyes darted between me and my brother, as if hoping he'd jump in and defend them. He didn't. Instead, my brother sat back, crossed his arms, and muttered. So what? You think you're better than us now? I let out a breathless laugh. No, I just think I'm done with you. I grabbed my phone, stood up, and walked toward the door. As I reached for the handle, I turned back one last time. Oh, and one more thing, I added, smirking. Since you're so good at selling things that don't belong to you, let's see how you like it when it happens to you. My brother frowned. What the hell does that mean? I winked and walked out. They'd find out soon enough. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the weight of their expectations, their problems, their manipulations. The look on my parents' faces when I told them they were on their own? Priceless. But I wasn't done yet. They had stolen from me, and I had taken back what was mine. Now, it was time to make sure they never stole from me again. I had spent my whole life being the responsible one, the provider, the backup plan for my parents and their golden child. But what happens when the person they've been leeching off finally cuts them off? They start to drown. And I was going to make sure they felt every inch of it. The first thing I did was check my financial accounts. I had already locked down my savings and cut my parents off from anything they had access to. But there was still one loose end, my brother. I pulled up his name in my banking app and checked for any recurring transactions. Sure enough, I found one, a $500 automatic transfer every month. I clenched my jaw. When had I agreed to this? Oh, that's right, I hadn't. A few years ago, my mother had asked me for a little help covering some of my brother's expenses while he was getting back on his feet. I had agreed to send money once, just a one-time thing, but apparently, she had set up an automatic recurring payment without telling me. I canceled it immediately. Then, just for fun, I sent my brother a text. Hey, just a heads up, you're not getting another cent from me, ever. Him, what are you talking about? Check your bank account. It took him less than 2 minutes to respond. Him, did you cancel my money? My money. And yes, consider it an early lesson in self-sufficiency. Him, you can't just do that. I literally just did. Him, Emma, mom and dad said you wouldn't be this selfish. I laughed out loud. Selfish? Me? The person who's been paying for his nonsense for years? I didn't bother responding. Let him scream into the void. I wanted to make sure they felt it, and I knew exactly how. I logged into my email and pulled up the contact information for my parents' landlord. See, here's the thing about living off your successful child: when that child walks away, things get ugly. My parents had been living in the same house for over 10 years, always scraping by, always getting extensions when rent was due, but I also knew a little secret: their landlord was tired of their nonsense. I had overheard my dad complaining months ago about how the landlord was getting too nosy about their payments and nagging them about rent. So, I sent a polite, professional email. Subject: urgent information regarding parents' address. Dear Mr. Landlord's name. I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to inform you that, as of today, I am no longer financially supporting my parents, mom's name and dad's name, who currently rent from you at address. I understand that they may have previously used my financial situation to reassure you about their ability to pay rent. However, I want to clarify that they no longer have access to my funds in any way. If they attempt to use my name, savings, or credit to guarantee any future payments, please be advised that they do not have my permission. Best regards. Your name. I hit send and leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. It wouldn't take long for the fallout to hit. The first cracks showed 3 days later, with a text from my cousin. Cousin, yo, uncle is freaking out. Did you really cut them off? Yep. Cousin, he's talking about eviction. He says the landlord suddenly isn't cooperating with them anymore. I smirked. Not my problem. Cousin, you really did it. I really did. And I wasn't done yet. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for everything to fall apart. 3 weeks since I blocked my parents. 3 weeks since I cut off my brother. 3 weeks since I sent that email to their landlord. And now, they were drowning. At first, there was silence. No texts, no calls, no desperate emails. But then the messages started coming from other people. Cousin, dude, your parents are losing their minds. Your mom called my mom crying, saying they might lose the house. Old family friend, hey, I don't know what happened between you and your folks, but your dad's been asking around for money. He's telling people you abandoned them. Just a heads up. Former neighbor, not sure if you care, but I saw a moving truck outside your parents' place. Looked like they were being forced out. I read every message with quiet satisfaction. Actions have consequences. One evening, I got a message from a new number. New number, you think you're so incredibly smart, don't you? I smirked. Only one person could be that entitled. New number. Who dis? Him, don't mess with me. You ruined my life. I laughed out loud. Ruined his life? Oh no. No, he had done that all by himself. What happened? Did mommy and daddy finally tell you to get a job? Him, you don't get it. They had to leave because of you. They're staying with some distant cousin now, and I have nowhere to go. So that was it. For the first time in his life, there was no safety net, no parents covering his rent, no me covering his bills, no easy way out, and he was pissed. Him, you're so selfish. You could have helped me. I did help. For years, and all it got me was betrayal. Him, forget you. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. A few days later, an unknown number tried calling me. I didn't answer. Then an email popped up. Subject, please, we need to talk. I stared at it for a long moment, then finally clicked. Email. Sweetheart, we don't know what else to do. We lost the house. Your brother is struggling. We're staying with relatives, but it's not sustainable. We made a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have sold your car. Maybe we shouldn't have tried to take out that loan. But we are family. Can't we just start over? Please. We need your help. Love. Mom and Dad. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. Now they were sorry, not when they sold my car, not when they tried to steal from me, not when they called me selfish for refusing to clean up their mess, only when it was too late. I cracked my knuckles and started typing. Subject, my final answer. Mom and Dad. You're right, we were family, but family doesn't steal, family doesn't lie, family doesn't betray their own. You didn't care when I lost something important to me. You didn't care when I begged for respect. Now, I don't care what happens to you. This is the last time you will ever hear from me. Don't call. Don't email. Don't try to reach me through others. I'm done. Goodbye. I hit send and blocked their email. And just like that, I was free. Update. 1 year later. It's been a year since I cut them off. A beautiful, peaceful, stress-free year. No more begging for my time. No more guilt-tripping phone calls. No more watching my hard work go to waste on people who never appreciated it. As for my family, my parents are still struggling. Last I heard, they burned through their relatives' goodwill and had to move into a small rental. My brother finally got a job. Turns out, working is a lot harder than living off others. And me? I'm thriving. I took the money I had saved and bought myself a new car. One no one could ever take from me. I traveled, focused on my career, and surrounded myself with real friends, people who actually respected me. And not once, not for a single moment, did I regret my decision. Because in the end, cutting them off wasn't just about revenge, it was about freedom, and I'll never let anyone take that from me again.